Hello, everybody. Welcome to the American Magpie YouTube channel. We are live again doing a match review, match reaction of our unfortunate demise in the Champions League. We're gonna have a panel come on and, of course, talk. We got Toon Tactics TV in the background. We got Lewis in the background. We got these guys that are gonna come on, give you their opinion. First of all, I just want to give my brief thoughts on this one from the get-go. I think that our inexperience cost us this game, both from the players and from the manager. And that's not necessarily a dig or, I'm complaining about Eddie Howe and I want him sacked, and I'm a Sunderland fan all of a sudden. You see what I'm saying? Because you got to be careful what you say nowadays because people just attack you. You can't say nothing these days because people will just try to bend and twist things around. First of all, please smash the like button. Let's get to as many likes as we can on this match reaction. We're going to have a panel, of course, coming on, fans, YouTubers coming on to have their opinion. And listen, ultimately, we had two opportunities. We had two options. We scored the goal. We could have just stayed back in the second half, trying to see how Milan came out, what they were trying to do to get their goal. We we shouldn't have been thinking about the match, between PSG and Dortmund anyways. Regardless, that result 1-1 was in our benefit because if we would have won the game, we would have advanced. But even if we didn't, if we tied the match, we could have gone to the Europa League. And I think that it was just we just let all the options go. We came out in the second half. We started attacking and pressing, and we were left wide open in the back. And some of our players weren't up to par. I will say that. And it's not again. It is a criticism, I guess you can say, but it's not. I'm not attacking the players. It's just the way it turned out. You know what I mean? So at the end of the day, so they're on the pitch making the decisions, and we are here. We have to talk about it. You know what I mean? That doesn't mean that I want them all out. That I want them gone. That I want Eddie Howe gone. That's not the case. But at the end of the day, if we're gonna come on here and just talk and do the kumbaya, rainbows and roses talk, then what are we doing? You know what I mean? So we got to talk and we got to analyze. I will bring the panel out so they can have their say. Toon Tactics, Philip. First of all, I want to hear your opinion on what you thought this match, how this match unfolded, and I want to have Lewis as well give his thoughts. But how are you feeling 24 hours after this loss, man?
Yeah, thank you again, Chris, for inviting me on. But yes, it was obviously as soon as the whistle blew, or as soon as the goal was scored by Chukwueze, I knew that it was over. Um, it's a fine balance, isn't it? It's exactly what you said. It's a fine balance between being overly disappointed and being able to talk in a critical manner about performance without coming off as if you are hating on the team or you want Eddie Howe out and stuff like that. It was disappointing. I think it just talked like his growing pains at the end of the day. It's told that we play like a team that's not been in a major competition for a while. And obviously that showed. And it's like it's like you said, we had the opportunity, even if we didn't get into the Champions League, we would get at least the Europa. I do have hope though, because I feel like Eddie Howe is a man that learns from his mistakes. People will remember that we were 1-0 up against a 10-man Liverpool, and then somewhere during the game we didn't know whether to attack, whether to defend, whether to do what, and obviously being caught in two minds, we eventually lost the game. However, since that time, we've been 1-0 up against Arsenal, Man United, Chelsea, and we've, onto my big, like obviously big teams, and we've done very, very well. So it's growing pains. I think we did really, really well, and I think it's essentially on to the next one. I think Man City went out in the group stage the first time they came back into the Champions League. Will be no different. I think the big disappointment is that we were this close to going through, and had we made better decisions, I suppose, we would still be in the Champions League, or at the very least the Europa.
Yeah. I want to give Lewis his take on this, man. How are you feeling after 24 hours after the loss, and what are your thoughts on how we performed?
As you know, Chris, I was at the game. Obviously, I'm the lucky ones who have a season ticket. But it's one of those things. I'm gutted. I'm absolutely gutted. But you could tell when the full-time whistle went, we were proud. There was no booing. We were actually proud of the club for getting this far. Who expected 2 years ago we'd be in the Champions League? Nobody expected it. It's
Right.
been it's been a whirlwind experience. And obviously, I'm lucky enough to always get the. I don't get the programs all the time, but I got them for the Champions League to
Yeah.
keep as a mentor.
Of course.
But as I said, like it's a learning curve for us. It's a like it's a it's how I explain it. It's a learning curve, and like hopefully now we had so many injuries. Now it just helps our team recover now more.
Well,
Being out of Europe.
yeah. I mean, and we can open this debate and start talking now, conversating on really what happened and what we think. To be honest with you, I don't think we're injured anymore. I don't think that can be, really used anymore as a reason as to why we're losing games. Number one, I've said it before. Um, we when we won big matches, we never used that reason, and also, um, we got most players back. We got most players back. We just got Longstaff back. Dan Burn is back.
Yes.
We got Murphy that's still out there, but at the end of Joe Willock, I didn't even know he was injured. That's how crazy.
Yeah. Like
The amount of
it hasn't helped with Nick Pope getting injured as well.
Yeah, that is true. That is true. That's one that's key. But a lot of people wanted to blame Dubravka, but honestly, there was one play with Tottenham that he was caught in the middle and didn't know what to do.
Hmm.
But that could be attributed to not playing as much either. You know what I mean? So it's just one of those things. But yeah, I wouldn't. I think. Listen, I think, in my opinion, we could have really, if we would have managed the game better. We don't know. We don't know what would have happened, right? But at the end of the day, you could have taken less risks. And obviously, right now, everybody, I don't know what your thoughts are on that, anybody, but I think that it could have been just as simple as sitting back a little bit, not being so wide open. We were looking for the goal, hoping maybe the inexperience with also trying to keep up with the other score in the other match, when they scored, when PSG scores and
Hmm.
ties the game, then maybe we freaked out a little bit. Maybe, that didn't help us at all. I'm not 100% if the players knew either, because, how, I mean, but at the same time, it's easier because the manager is right. He only has to tell one person, and then everybody else knows.
Yeah,
So,
like
yeah, man, I don't know.
as you said about the score, the fans knew, and when PSG were
That is
one
true.
0 when we realized PSG were down, losing 1-0 or 1-0, as you say, we say 1-0 in the United Kingdom.
Yeah,
And like the crowd, you could tell who, who, who the team we call United. You could tell the crowd knew, and then the
yeah.
players, you could see some of the players look around going, "Oh my God, we're in the last 16 of the Champions League." I think that would cause the problem.
Uh,
And you know what? I wouldn't, because I think when I saw you guys on the football terrace, and I think Terry made the point, which is a poignant point. This is what was about heritage. He was more talking about obviously Real Madrid. If Real Madrid go a goal down, two goes down, three goes down, the Madrid fans, they've seen all of this before, and they just there is
yeah,
the same panic and anxiety that we might feel, or happiness, or like overwhelming joy we might feel. They've seen it all before. It just becomes experience. I bet you
yeah,
any money, God willing, we're in the Champions League next season, and we're in the same situation. Our fans would all be thinking, "We've seen all this before. Let's see it out." And it'll be the same feeling for the players. This is what, when we're talking about heritage, it's not like a new gimmick or thing that us content creators come up with. It's actually it's a real thing. Jose Mourinho is the one that brought it to us, and it's a real thing, and it just happens that way. And so I would the Newcastle players, the fans, they've got a taste of it now, and it'll be on to next season.
But number one, I do want to point this out though, because we sit here and talk and we try to. I've said my piece on what I thought Eddie Howe made mistakes on, humbly speaking, because at the end of the day, somebody can say, "Well, you're not a manager." Well, then we just shut the place down and we go home, right? But so with that being said, I have to point out that nobody talks about it no more, but the PSG match was a big contributor to us not going passing through, because I've debated this with a lot of people that say it doesn't matter, or it is what it is. It's a mistake. No, it's not a mistake. It's not a mistake that is allowable. One thing is a judgment call that could have went either way, but this was not. This was not at all. It's clear on paper, on the rules. It's clear on any fan that was looking at it from not looking at it with the Banton, look. You know what I'm saying? And anybody would tell you that can't be a handball. So that's not an allowable mistake. You're not supposed to allow that. You should, with all due respect, people. I don't care to take people's job, but that is a sackable mistake. Because you can't call somebody.
Explain about the handball.
Yeah.
In the Premier League, that is not a handball, but in UEFA competition, it is a handball.
How?
Different rules. They were going to implement it, but they decided not to.
No, I don't know about that. I respect your opinion, but
no, but it's true. There is a thing. If you look on UEFA's, if you look on Google, and that there is a scene that we're going to put it in this season or the season before, but they decided not to.
Yeah, there was a recommendation that was made to the UEFA around how, because he's right in terms of the Champions League, in terms of how the rules were that if it deflects off another body part, say the stomach onto the arm, that it would still be a penalty or a free kick or whatever. However, it was recommended to them not to do that. And actually, since the match, I think the VAR, one of the person that was on VAR was like stepped down or wasn't able to manage the next game. So even though it was a recommendation, it was a very, very, very strong recommendation. And I think the perspective or the view was, or the expectation was that it would be used. So, but it wasn't.
Man, I don't know, man. I think we got robbed on that one. And to be honest with you,
I was in Paris for that game as well.
Yeah.
Wow.
But
you're hardcore.
I didn't have a ticket. I was in a pub like bar stroke restaurant type of thing, bistro, like whatever you call it. Like we had it on a French TV station. And guess who was? You won't believe who one of the presenters was.
Who?
David Dunola.
Oh wow!
Yeah, wow. David. Like, so if you don't know it, like David or David, but obviously for his French name, it's actually David Dunola.
Yeah.
Every Newcastle fan knows David, even though I'm too young for him. Everybody knows David Dunola.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm just pointing that out because the way I felt robbed after that match. But I will say also that even, the media talked about it for half a day, and then it was done, and YouTube as well. You know what I mean? Some of them didn't even touch the subject, and of course you have to take that in consideration with yesterday, because if that wasn't the case, if we would have won at PSG, which we deserved, then the match yesterday would have been a different match.
Yeah.
Different approach, different everything. So you know what I mean? That's just the way I feel about it. That some people might say I'm a crybaby, I need to get over it. I can't get over something that shouldn't have happened. Anyway, any shape or form. This is not me jumping and all of a sudden I raise my hand and touch the defender or whoever and I get a red card and it's subjective. is not subjective to me. You know what I mean? This shouldn't have been a handball, no matter what. If it touches the body and then just bounces, I mean, it bounces. You don't even have no way of knowing that the ball was going to touch his arm.
It's
So
he's like 2 yards away as well. What are you supposed to do with 2 yards? Literally,
yeah, no, yeah,
like,
yeah.
are you going to tell the defenders you may as well chop off your arms?
Now let me ask, let me ask Philip on this one, because people are talking about this, and in the title asks the question. Um, some people say, you know, listen, you want Newcastle wants to be a big club, want to be talked about like a big club. The fans want that, whatever, but so the pressure is there, and when it doesn't happen, when you let something go, they come up with this colloquial word that is, did you bottle it? Did Never Castle or whatever other names they call us, when we lose, when they use
Saudi club.
yeah. Oh yeah, 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 the Saudi boys, the oil
Yeah,
burgers, whatever.
I love
uh,
that chant because the away fans, if the English would go, no boys from the Saudi boys, and then when
yeah,
we score, we go 1-0 to the
yeah,
Saudi boys.
yeah. Well, but
Guess I do. Next time when we play Fulham, if that chant happens, I video it and I show you how far I've stayed away from the away
Yeah.
fans.
yeah, no,
Well,
but let
literally, I
me
sit underneath the away fans.
Yeah, let me ask Philip though. So did we bottle this one?
So bottling is essentially means to lose your nerve. If you've been in a school fight before, you get into an argument with somebody in the classroom. You say, "All right, wait after school, wait after school." You're both promising that you're going to go see each other after school and you're going to hash it out, and then you don't turn up. You've bottled it, mate. You've lost your nerve, and that's what it is. I don't think that Newcastle lost their nerve. I think there's many things they can be accused of. I don't think losing their nerve is one of them. I think what they did do was naivety would be a more closer label that I'll put on it. You've gone 1-0 up, and you've got a choice of how you want to conduct yourself. If you want to continue pressing, you have to keep your lines, you have to hold your lines, and you have to do all the things that got you there in the first place, because we can do it. It's not our way. People want us to essentially park the bus. It's not our way. It's not how we play at all anymore. But we can keep the ball on the other side of the field. We defend from the front. We did, like I said, 1-0 against Man United, 1-0 against Arsenal. Much tougher opponents than AC Milan are. So we know that we can do it. But we defend from the front. And like I said, the lines are broke. We really went way up too high. We left Rafael Leao by himself. I thought when we later found out that Trippier and Gordon had a knock, I thought that okay, Livramento back, just guarding Leao and keep Lascelles and Shaw behind and whatnot will be all right. But then
I got a bit of a cough.
Yeah, no, that's fine. And then everybody just seemed to went a lot. We had this massive hole in our midfield all of a sudden, and I understand that we wanted to kill the game off. It's our nature, it's how we're built. But I think in that terms, I think we could have controlled the game a little bit more. Put Bruno on the ball more. I think this is where you need Bruno and others who I thought had a good game this is where experience jumps in, and you want to dictate the ball a little bit more. Do some side to side passing. It doesn't always have to be, find a killer ball through the middle. I thought we could have handled the situation more, but this is experience. This is Champions League. It's different to the Premier League. It's different to playing in the League Cup. It's different to playing in the FA Cup. This is something new, and so we'll learn from it. But you don't get to go back to you don't get to write off the next week. You have to go fight for it again and get into the next. Right. Yeah. So yeah, I think we're more naive rather than losing our bottle.
I do agree with that point, because again, to me, bottling is much more is deeper than that. I mean, it's like winning 3-0 and all of a sudden, they just bang, bang, bang. You lose 4-3. That to me, that's bottling. A match we could have made better decisions, and we let it go because I do agree we were a little bit naive to a certain extent. But just to move on to something that I saw on
Let's say something quickly when you said bottling.
Yeah.
I can remember that. I can remember one game when we won the championship against Norwich.
Yeah.
No game I'm on about.
Yeah.
Like we were the full-time score was 4-3 Newcastle. We were losing 3-2.
Yeah.
And we scored 2 goals in 2 minutes in the 90 plus in the 93rd and the 94th minute, literally.
Yeah, that's bottling it.
Hey,
That was one of the craziest championship games. That's the shape what you got. That was that season.
Yeah, it was.
Well, the closest one that I can think of is the Liverpool match, right in the beginning of the season.
Yes.
That was
yes.
that's
Spurs last season. That was one of the craziest games as well.
Spurs, we beat Spurs.
Yeah, we beat Spurs 6-1.
Oh well, allowing 1 goal. I mean, that's not
last season.
What do you mean? We didn't we beat them 6-1?
We beat them 6-1 at St James Park. We were 5-0 up.
You mean Spurs bottled it?
Tottenham Hotspur, yeah. We were 5-0 up after 21 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so Ian, you guys know Ian Ladyman and Craig Hope. They argued today whether Newcastle are better off without Europa League or the obviously not qualifying or Europa League, or is it better that they don't have that competition and right now they can focus on the Premier League, they can focus on the Carabao Cup? Is it better for Newcastle to not compete in European football? That's a good question because listen, I always want to play in the Champions League. I mean, that's my favorite tournament. So, that's key. But if we are quote unquote suffering all season because we're playing back to back to back, and we use that reasoning as to when we lose, which it is what it is. A lot of fans, the majority of fans use that every time we lose. I don't agree with it, but that's it to a certain extent. I agree with it in the beginning or not beginning of the season, but probably a month or so ago. But now it's still being used. So are we better off without playing? Literally, we're playing every single competition there is to play. Yeah. And so are we better off now that we're not?
I'm happy we're out in a way, but I'm sad. But if you look at the long term, as I said, put on in the group chat what we have. I said, it's a bit weird because we know we want to do well, but at least our players can come back, have a longer rest after a game, have a bit of time to recover because we know we played like so many games in not that many, like we played so many games in a short period of time.
Mm-hmm.
At least we can have a bit of a rest in between the games now. If we don't play midweek in the cup, we basically have a week's rest. What's going to help us in the long term?
Yeah.
But also now, obviously, because Man United and Newcastle are both out of the Champions League, 5th place could be not good enough for Champions League football now. But it all depends on how the other English teams do in Europe.
Yeah. It's going to be harder to get the coefficient, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think with and it's not just Craig Hope, it's other people. I like to be as nice and diplomatic. But I find it. I think it's a loser's mentality to think like that. I think if you want to be an elite club, who's the elite club in the Premier League? Man City. When Arsenal were ahead last season by 5-8 points, they were like, "Oh yeah, we're so happy, that we're out of the Europa because now we've got bigger fish to fry." Man City played all their games: Champions League, FA Cup, Premier League. I think they went very far in the League Cup, obviously. Mm-hmm. And no, they got a company, but they played and they still won it because why? They've got an elite. I think there's a flaw in thinking that. I think people are thinking too much about the physical rest. If you listen to Dan Burn recently, he gave an interview where he was talking about like he didn't realize he was rating people like Harry Kane who are playing Champions League seasons out but he was talking about he didn't get a break in terms of switching off. What he's talking about is a mental fatigue.
Yeah.
He's rather than so much of a physical one, but he's also at the same time rating and seeing, understanding just how good someone like Harry Kane is, because they've been doing it season in and season out. It makes you better. It makes your club better. It makes you stronger. You have to stretch. This idea of, oh, okay, I'm so happy we're out now because we can focus on this. Sometimes you've got too much time to focus on nothing. You have to play. I think, in fact, the last 3 games, before the last 3 games that we lost, before that, we were in one of the 2-3 top clubs in the league, and we're playing Champions League, we're playing League Cups, we're doing all of that. On top of the injuries that we've had, I do not understand when I listen to the owners, when I listen to Eddie Howe, the mentality isn't, we'll prioritize this club, we'll prioritize this cup or this Premier League game. It's everything. And that's because you're looking at the main blueprint that's now, which is Man City. It's everything. And so that's what we're here to do, because the idea isn't just to win one cup or to qualify for a Champions League every year. The idea is to be number one, which is what our very own chairperson said.
Like,
exactly.
Bin, like Yasha Bin, like
exactly. So you have to. So if you want to be number one, who's number one? It's Man City. And what do they do every year? Compete in every cup every year with 17 to 18 high quality players. It's what we do. So I'm not with that whole idea of we're going to be better now because we've got less time. Because if that was the case, Arsenal would have won the league last year.
Yes,
and they did.
True.
So
no, I agree. I agree with that 100%. I mean, I think it is.
As you said about Man City, I don't think Man City will win the league this season because they got the Champions League, they got the Premier League, they got the FA Cup, but they're not they haven't got the Carabao Cup.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is though, you can never. You
also have the Club World Cup as well.
Yeah, that is true. But I will say you can never run away from it, man, because now you got the FA Cup coming up. So now you're playing 3 tournaments at once because the Carabao is still going. And if you go farther in the Carabao Cup, that's a tournament that you need to be focusing on. If to me, I know this is kind of, it can sound like whatever, but I do agree with Philip. I mean, you can't, if you want to be a big club, you want to be talked about. You want to, you want to get praised. You want people to look at you different. You got to take the bull by the horns. You got to go. You can't be afraid of the moment. You can't be afraid. That's a loser mentality. I deal with Newcastle fans telling me that I should be happy that I exist, and that's not, no, that doesn't, that can't, I don't agree with that. Newcastle is a big club, and up until the late 80s, late 90s, it was a top 4 only, and Newcastle was a part of that. So that changed, but we can change the history. If Chelsea did it, if Manchester City did it, we can do it as well. And you know what I'm saying? So, I mean, listen, I think that it takes time, 100%, but you can also give yourself the objective of seeking the Carabao Cup again. You got to the finals. I mean, who else is out there? Liverpool and Chelsea. They're tough teams.
The Carabao Cup final.
Yeah, there it is. Yeah, right there. So that when we could have had that one, you know what I mean? And again, maybe inexperience played a bad game on that one as well. But regardless, you gain that experience by getting to the finish line. And listen, I think we can win this one if we beat Chelsea, which we're going to play pretty soon.
Yes,
in the Big Carabao Cup. And listen, they're not. We're better than them. So what are we? What, you know what I'm saying? Like we don't need to be scared to say it. We're better than Chelsea.
Yeah,
we are better than Manchester United. You know what I mean? And to Liverpool, we were better than them when we met them at St. James's Park. We just let it go in the last 5 minutes. You know what I mean?
Exactly. And I'm sort of happy that we were in the group of death, because had we gone out in a group where people looked, there's some groups that people look at, oh, that was a Europa League group.
Manchester City.
Right, exactly. But we know that we can go toe to toe with PSG. We know we can go toe to toe with AC Milan. Dortmund, to me, were the best team in our group. I think they're just a half a level above us. But we know that because we've gone with them. Had we gone out like this and we played, some of the lesser,
Red Star Belgrade.
Yeah, exactly. Had we gone out like this, then we'll really know that there's a real disappointment here, and we don't really know who,
Right.
what we're about. We went to toe with some of the best teams in the league in Europe, and we know who we are. So yeah,
The one thing. I'm sorry, Phil.
yeah, that's okay.
But I will say this: people are saying, "Well, I think Newcastle is good, but I think Aston Villa is better, and I
Yeah,
think that Tottenham is better." Why?
yeah,
Why would you? Why would anybody think that? You know what I mean? They
Because
have
everybody,
no European football to play. They don't have. They never had to worry about that. How are they better when actually Aston Villa is good at home, like we are, but their away record is not good either? So what are we talking about?
um, because everybody hates us because we got the money now. That's why
Yeah,
everybody hates us.
money that we can't use to a certain extent. It's not like we can buy anybody. You
Yeah,
know,
just think next season we're going to have what we're going to be lucky in a way because we're going to get unique kits anyway. With I'm going
Adidas.
sorry I'm going to have to say the American way.
Yeah,
Adidas we're going to get.
Adidas, man. Hey, I love that. Listen, you might not think that that's a that's a change or that doesn't matter, bro. Look at the biggest clubs in the world.
Yeah,
Who fits them? I'm sorry,
Juventus,
but but if I wasn't a Newcastle fan, I wouldn't know what Castor was. With all due respect,
I know.
and I still don't. And I still don't.
Like Castor is like based in Merseyside,
Yeah,
Manchester,
I think isn't it
by
okay? Yeah.
by two mates, and it's not the best country in the world.
Well, let me.
No, it's
But
not.
I'm telling you, bro. Like, but look at what we do. Now we got a new ownership, of course, new leadership. People that sit down, they don't have to look. Mike Ashley, nobody wanted to sit down and negotiate with that guy anymore.
No,
You know what I'm saying? So now you get new leadership, and they can sit down and talk about business. You bring
Yeah.
Adidas. Adidas is the biggest in the world with Nike, Puma, and they're going to fit you. You know what I mean? You got a private a big ass plane for you to go anywhere. I mean, I'm telling you, man, this is the best time ever to be a Newcastle fan.
yeah,
You
but
know
like,
why? You know why though? Just one difference between Manchester City at the time when they got their ownership and 10 years later, and they won between those 10 years, but the final objective was the Champions League, and they won it 10 years later. The only
because
difference is that
yeah,
us, we actually have history. You see what I'm saying? We have history that we can add on with what we have, what we we can envision that we're going to get in the next few years. Manchester City, with all due respect, really, I mean, I never knew they existed. Again, the same thing with Castor
like
until I started playing FIFA.
like
You know,
for example, like Manchester United were not even called Manchester United.
true.
Yeah, like he an Eth or something, wasn't it? What was the original name for Manchester United?
Uh,
Um,
something boys, Burby boys, like Burby, something like that, right?
Wait 1 second. Hey Google.
Oh yeah.
Newton, something like that.
Oh no, that was
Hey,
the one I was
1 sec.
referring to is like a
Hey
nickname.
Google. What was the
Uh,
original name for Manchester United?
oh, I like Lewis, man. But I just wanted to point that out. Now let's talk about some news real quick, um, because some things are happening. Look, I've been maybe you were listening to Football Terrace, and I said it on there, and I said that um, I think that we need to get out of the mentality of, and this might sound wrong, and Lewis might hate me and all the Geordies that are from Newcastle that, but listen, we have something that's very unique about Newcastle, and it's the Newcastle players, Newcastle born players that come and play, and I think that's really cool. To be honest with you, I mean Rashford has done it for Manchester United a little too long, but ultimately that's a cool thing. That like not Livermore, but Lewis Miley as well. I mean that's a great thing, but I feel like we as Newcastle fans from the Tyne area, we take it a little bit too hard. Like that's the way of doing things. You know what I mean? And to be fair with you, unfortunately to say, the best players are not going to just start coming out of Newcastle just because they're born in Newcastle.
Yeah,
And for us to compete, in my opinion, we need to get players that other big teams are competing to get. Not just, and I'm not saying that you get rid of all the Newcastle-born players. That's not what I'm saying. But I think there's a sense of pride that for a long time Newcastle people didn't have. That maybe that was a way to showing that pride, and you can still do it. But like Longstaff, he's a Newcastle guy, and I appreciate Longstaff. And I appreciate his football. He's a good footballer, but there are midfielders that are better than him.
Yeah, as you said, like it's I know what you mean, but like in the Champions League, it was lovely to see two Geordies score in the Champions League with Dan Burn and Longstaff. Who would expect it? Like as Dan Burn said in his interview on a company in the UK called TNT Sports, but it's a Canadian company for some reason. They bought they said, I would never expected this when Newcastle got bought. You would never expected playing for Newcastle. And then he's playing Champions League and he scored. It was just it was like one of those things. It was pride for us to be like from two local lads scoring in the Champions League. And like you said, like even Lewis Hall, even though he was not born in Newcastle, he is a Newcastle fan because his grandfather was from the Northeast who supported Newcastle.
Anthony Gordon to a certain extent as well. I mean, I think Lewis Hall. I'm sorry,
Lewis Hall. And for some reason, like as you said, Lewis Miley, he's only 17.
Yeah,
he's 17. He's younger than all of us.
Yeah. No, but I get that. Go ahead, Philip. Give me your point.
Yeah, I think a couple things. I do like having players from young players from Newcastle come in, and I think part of the problem was, and as much as I loved this manager at the time, when we had Kevin Keegan, he essentially abandoned our academy, and so we missed out on incredible players like Michael Carrick's and everybody else because of that. So Newcastle when obviously, when the takeover happened, Newcastle are going through such a rebuild at the moment that we don't even know how many gems in Newcastle in a tiny area we still have. So before we even kind of, I think, look overly focused, I think, on continental stars, we do need to focus on the homegrown players that we do have. And I think they provide such. There's other things, yes, quality matters, technical quality and everything like that matters. But as you see with Chelsea right now, if you don't have any heart, desire, any love for your club, it only can take you so far. And the second point on kind of looking for the other players that the big teams are looking for, in my view, and I don't put Man City in this box, but in terms of like the top 3, top 4 teams, when everybody's looking for one player, your Casados. We look where that took, where that got Chelsea. Obviously, Declan Rice has worked out, but he's one of the. It's rare that 100 million plus player ends up being such a good buy. And what happens is that I feel like a lot of clubs, especially who've spent a lot of time at the top or towards the top, their owners get lazy. They don't no longer invest into their scouting teams, or if they do invest in their scouting teams, they don't listen to what their scouts are doing or saying. I was on the show today with a Man United fan, and they missed out on Casado before he was Casado, before he was even at Brighton for 4 million. They missed out on so many players because their own structure wasn't organized. And they didn't know which player was, and they, instead of a Casado, they invested in a 90 million Anthony. Can you imagine that? They missed out on Casado to buy a 90 million Anthony. So I don't want Newcastle to fall in the trap of, I don't know if you saw that we've hired a new global scout. We've got scouts in South America and other places. We're building academies. I like the fact that we're literally scouring the earth to make sure that we get the talent in from wherever we can, and that we're not necessarily
and that's ultimately what I was talking about. Because I mean, I know that just, and I'm not even talking about numbers. I'm not talking about like young Brazilian players that come here instead of Manchester United, instead of any other, instead of Manchester City. Why not? You know what I mean? Ultimately, go ahead.
And sorry for putting in, but as you said, like homegrown players, I think now you need 3 or 4 players in your matchday squad in the Champions League or Europe. You need about 3 or 4 players from homegrown players in the squad.
Yeah, exactly. And I think you need there's that, and I think you do need you want the homegrown players to have the quality and the character.
Yes.
Right.
Obviously, those are valuable as well, and I think that's what Newcastle. When I'm hearing other, because I've got a next door neighbor whose his son is about 6-7 years old, and he travels around the country playing football, and he said that when he played the Newcastle players, the young, again, this is ages 6 and 7. He goes, compared to every other team they've played, where it's more about individual skill, this is the one club where you can tell that they have a system that they work to and they play to. So Newcastle are behind the scenes, are creating a model for how they want to play, right down from their youth to going up. So I don't think we'll see the fruits of it until maybe 4, 5, 6, 7 years time. So I'm not so. Yes, we want to get the best talent out there, but I feel like if we can produce the best talent out there, that's the way forward. And I think that's what our owners are trying to do. And especially if they got an attachment in the club, an affiliation, I think it works and it helps, because you don't want to be in a situation like a Chelsea. You don't want to be in a situation like the Arsenal found themselves at one point in their in the stage as
the
well.
thing that Chelsea bought too many young players, and I'm not necessarily asking for young players. I'm talking about players that are established. We need that actually. We need players that are established, that know the moment. And to be fair with you, if you right now that I'm starting to think while I'm saying it, it's hard. It's hard. I mean, I can't obviously, and somebody like Mbappe would be a dream. But that's a very, very that's when Newcastle has a couple Premier Leagues and the Champions League in the bag. Then you can,
for
you
example, I'll be quite happy getting Mbappe's brother, because he's
he's a good footballer.
He's
actually, but still a young promise. So
because he played against Newcastle under 19s in the UEFA Youth League.
Okay, I didn't know that.
Hang on 1 second. If I can get DP 1 second, I just get his name.
I want Bellingham's younger brother, Job.
But doesn't he play? Where does he play?
Sunderland.
Come on! I was about to say it. I was hoping it was Southampton.
Mbappe's brother's called Ethan Mbappe.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I didn't know that he was a baller.
Yeah. No. He's a good footballer. He's actually, but so look, I want to move on to this one. And the reason why I brought that up is because Calvin Phillips is more than likely going to play for Newcastle. I mean, at this point in time, is very, very keen on making this Newcastle move. Spurs and West Ham are also interested. Listen, I'm not going to buy this notion that he is a failure because he didn't perform at City. City is a different team. It has a lot of other players. He would have to start it over Rodri. And to be fair with you, I don't think that he got as many opportunities as the other guys. And to be fair, when Pep makes his mind, he was never going to be when I give him the chances. You know what I'm saying? Like, he was never going to win over Rodri. Obviously, at the time was Gundogan was on the team. So, look, I think this is a good signing. What are your thoughts? A potentially good signing. I don't know yet.
It'd be a good signing. I'm just trying to work out what number he will be. You probably get the number 25 number, because that's a free number for us.
What number was Shelby? I forgot. What number was Shelby?
8.
Okay, he might get. I mean, with Calvin Phillips, I initially
Tonali's got the number 8 shirt. That's why you probably can't have it.
Yeah.
That's why number 25 will probably be the number you get.
Yeah, you might get that one. With Calvin Phillips, because I initially because it's so public, and we know how I thought it was. Him and Neves were so public. I thought, yeah, we're definitely not getting them. I thought that was more like a decoy. But if it is Calvin Phillips, it kind of goes back to what you were saying earlier, Chris, in terms of getting established players. And he's obviously 26, 27, Premier League proven, and probably the closest profile we can get at an available price to a Bruno Gomes in terms of being able to take the ball back to goal. That's what Howe wants. He needs someone, because I don't know how, because I think the statistic is true, and I hope it's not, that Newcastle haven't won a game without Bruno Gomes.
Yeah,
And that's
it's true. It's
okay.
actually
So
true.
so that's scary. And so yes, I agree with you also, Chris, in terms of if he hasn't made it at Man City, doesn't mean that he can't make it with us. And sometimes it just depends on the environment that you're in. There was a study actually that was done, and we were talking about students, and we was talking about, I forgot where it was, but it was saying that if you take a student that's an A plus student from an environment where all the other students are Bs, and take him into an environment where everybody else is A plus, he becomes slowly to recede, to get worse, because everybody else is shining. So Calvin Phillips went from an environment in Leeds where he was number one, like so clearly number one, to an environment where he's just another day. he's just like everybody else.
Yeah. And
So
don't have the confidence, yeah, but go ahead.
You lose the confidence, yeah, because then you start seeing Rodri, you start seeing De Bruyne, and you're like, yeah, I can't do what they do. And so I'm surprised that Man City got it wrong. I was listening to a Man City fan about what happened with Calvin Phillips, and he was explaining that he's not. What they discovered was that when they got him, he wasn't as press resistant as they would have wanted to be. But I find that hard to believe in terms of how well they do in the transfer window and how extensive their scouting team would have been. Like, you wouldn't know that he's not as press resistant as you would like him to be until he comes to your training ground. I find it hard to believe. We need a player that can take the ball back to a goal. I read a scouting report on Calvin Phillips when he played at Leeds, where he'll be the main person that gathers the ball from the centre backs and takes it onto the midfield, which is what Bruno Gomes does. We need him to do that. We need to be able to have another cog into our machine. So if Bruno is unfit or is injured, we just slot in Calvin Phillips, or we've got the option of having them play as a pivot, Calvin Phillips and Bruno, and whoever going up as a 10 or 8 for our team as well. So it makes it, and obviously he can hit the ground running as well. So it makes sense in terms of the player, the economics behind it. I'm 60-40 convinced he'll come. There's a 40% of me that thinks
I thought you were going to say I'm 64. And go that way. I was like, damn, man, you look pretty young. But no, you're 60. Yeah, you're 60-40. Okay, you're 60-40%. I was like, damn, you're not 64, are you? I was about to say, man, come on now.
I need to. What cocoa butter are you using? Like, I'm like,
exactly,
I forgot where Milan you are, but that's fine.
You're 60. You're 60-40. You're 60-40.
60-40 that he's coming. I know that it looks almost like silly to even deny it now, but I'm just so surprised that it's so public like this. So,
well, I mean, the only reason is that he knew, he was told it is what it is. You're about to go and find yourself a club in Newcastle with the midfielding situation, Tonali, everything else. I think. And listen, I think he's a good footballer, man. I think he's. You just got to put him on the pitch, and you know what I'm saying. Give him time. He didn't just forget how to play football. I mean,
yeah.
He made it to the English team. I mean, come on, man.
He still gets picked. He hasn't played a game. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah, that's Southgate for you.
Yes.
Well, that's a different. That's
not Phillips' fault. That's just Southgate.
That dude is great.
Like, but if we do get Callum, just call him Phillips, because if we do get Phillips, like, that could help in a way, because like one game we could have Phillips in, one time we can have Bruno in.
Yeah.
Well,
I think on the manager, on the opposition saying which player are they going to play.
Yeah.
One time we could go balls to the walls. That's a saying in the UK, obviously.
Yeah.
We could go,
but I do think that he will have to be given time.
And Phillips together, because imagine that Phillips and Bruno together.
A lot of control. You get a lot of control in the midfield.
A lot of control.
And Joe Linton out wide.
Exactly. And Joe Linton is yeah, and Joe Linton is a midfielder now that has a striker's mentality at times, and he goes forward.
Yeah.
And so it's not that you're going to have three defensive midfielders. Even Bruno Guimaraes always attacking. So I think that there's a very good balance right there up until Tonali whenever he comes back. We can figure that out. But it's always good to have more than to have less.
Yeah,
100%.
100%.
Just to finish off on that one play against Arsenal, what are your thoughts on the verdict?
Oh, he hasn't.
The
Arteta hasn't been
verdict.
charged.
They're not going to charge Arteta, and they've been crying about that since it happened. They're still
Yeah,
crying about it.
and
Arsenal fans all over the football terrace talking about you got what you deserve, this and that. Like, dude,
like,
still not
this,
over that, man. Like, what the
if
hell?
he hasn't been charged, what does
He's
that say? What
well,
does that say?
he's basically not going to get any punishment. You know what I mean? He's for
Well,
what he said. Now look,
yeah, I'm just going to turn it around and like how I say. Let's say it was Eddie Howe said that Eddie Howe would have been charged because the Premier League don't like. As I said before, nobody likes Newcastle because they know we got the money. Like coming to us soon. They don't like us because they don't want us to like
To
break.
succeed, isn't it?
Yeah. Like, but as you said, by Man City winning, when they got took over, there was no financial fair play.
Yeah. For the first 5 years, I think.
Yeah. But also, City are looking like, obviously, we know City's got charges 115. Arsenal, no, Everton had one. They got the 10-point deduction. But there's a rumor going around again saying, Everton might have another charge against them.
well, I will say this though. I mean, it's never good when the manager of a football of a club like Arsenal, and I'm not going to get into whether he should be punished or not. Other teams, other managers have gone far as well when in their comments, but it's never good because these people, these leaders or players, like Mbappe per se, if he comes out and says something like the referees and friends are corrupt, then he has such amount of influence that he will influence people to believe that and to act on it. So I do believe that is unless it's a play that, and this is a situation where you need to be something needs to be spoken about. Yeah, I get it, but also I get the part where you can't just come out and every week say that the referees are corrupt, because then what I'm saying, like, it's not good for the sport. You know what I mean?
What was the reasoning for them to reverse the decision? Did they give the reasoning for it?
Actually, I did tweet it. I think. Let me see.
Because because you've charged him for a reason. There was obviously a reason. He didn't meet a threshold to get charged in the first place. So why they reversed it would be very interesting. And in terms of like a wider yeah, go on.
Well, so I found it, and it says the FA have today released the following: an independent regulatory commission has found the charge against Mikel Arteta for an alleged breach of the FA rule E3.1 to be not proven. The manager was charged following various comments in the media interviews after Arsenal's Premier League game against Newcastle. It was alleged that his comments constituted misconduct in that they were insulting towards the match officials and or detrimental to the game and or brought the game into disrepute. The regulatory commission came to its decision following a hearing, and then it says right there the full reasons. But I guess I should have clicked on it. But yeah, I mean, basically, or they charged them because they had to do it. I guess it was just more like a scaring thing. And to be fair with you, I don't think. Look, man, what were they going to do? I mean, they're going to ban him way after the fact. Now let me. There's a lot of bureaucracy that goes on in England because people get punished freaking 10 years later for look at the Everton thing.
Yeah.
But as you said about the officials and that, I want to give a shout out to Rebecca Welsh or Walsh. She's from Washington, not Washington DC. Washington, like technically the city of Sunderland. And she is the first female referee to take charge of a Premier League game. And that's in fifth, and that's against us. I saw it's against.
I think it's against Fulham or something like that.
Fulham and Burnley.
But I mean, what are your thoughts on that though? Like on this Arteta situation, just so we can put it to rest.
Yeah, I mean, with Arteta, I mean, in terms of that, I think when he says he's been here for 20 years, he hasn't seen officiating like this before.
It's
if that doesn't constitute a breach, okay, that's fine. I think that's the least of his problem. I think that Arteta, and I said it before, when he did that, to me, he had his Kevin Keegan moment. You know, when Kevin Keegan said, "I would love it, I would absolutely love it when we beat them," and it was entertaining and it was fun to watch. But what it caused, and I think the reverberating effect on the squad was, we ended up losing a 12-point gap on Man United and not winning the Premier League. I think the reason why Arsenal will end up not winning the league and not even finishing second is not because of their technical quality or their ability, but because of the lack of substance in Arteta's character and the ability to hold and regulate his emotions. Because when Arsenal get put to the fire and get put to the flame, they only have their leaders to look to. Whereas Arteta went absolutely ballistic. When Newcastle had that injustice in Paris, our manager conducted himself like a leader and like a gentleman. And that's how our team conducts themselves whenever we're put to the fire. And so I think his reactions to those things, he could grow out of it. Obviously, he could grow out of it in time and Arsenal can repair themselves. But I think he breeds instability in his squad. And I think this also, you were talking about the cups earlier, Chris, you were saying that I think he picks and chooses which cups he goes for. He doesn't rate the League Cup, so they don't play well in the League Cup. He doesn't rate Europa. So he breeds that instability in his squad that, we can't play more than a set amount in a particular week game. And so I think he puts that gap, that ceiling on his squad. I think they can go further. I think they can be better. But I think his leadership puts that gap up on them and he stops them from progressing. I think that's why he purchases players like Zinchenko and Gabriel Jesus, who we find out nearly 2 years later, we're only going to get so far. But Guardiola knew this 2 years ago, and that's why he sold them to you in the first place, and that he knew that you would take them anyway. And so I think I feel like I'm totally destroying. I'm not. I think he's a good manager. He's a very, very good manager. But what stops him from becoming an elite manager, i.e., winning major honors, is himself, is his character. And so I think that's my thoughts on him. Yeah. And he needs to grow. He needs to grow and mature from that.
That is true. That is true. We're gonna call it off, man. This was a great match review. Match reaction today. Thank you, Lewis. Thank you,
no problem, Chris.
Philip, for coming on. I appreciate everybody. Of course, subscribe, hit the like button. Subscribe to Philip's channel, Toon Tactics TV. Great content, man. Your shorts are amazing.
I'm going to. I don't know if I'm.
You got to subscribe. You got to subscribe to him, man. We got to support him.
I'm going to do it live.
Do it live, man. Do it live. We gotta show the receipts, bro, because you know what I mean. We're not about that, that banting stuff that means nothing, man. Show it on the screen, bro.
1 second. Look, there's your channel. There
it is.
How can I do this?
Tactics TV, brother. No doubt.
Big up to you, Lewis. Thank you, sir.
But you say I'm going to do it, but I can't do it.
What the hell? Right there, hit the button, man. There it is. Okay. We'll see you guys on the next one, man.
Take care. Take care.